And you are now unmuted.
Okay, thanks. Hi. There are disruptions on all the trains, I'm just seeing.
Not on the 6th train that I was on.
1, 2, 4, 5. Yeah, there, Chris said he'd be, yeah, Lynn's there, Frederica, I see Ann and Shirley, okay.
You know, someone
Thank you. Can you guys hear us? Okay,
so Chris Dignith is remote non-quorum, right?
All of them are remote non-quorum.
Okay, so,
Oh, I'm sorry. Is Shirley? No, Shirley's remote non-quorum too. Yeah.
yeah, and
We
Shirley
have a quorum, but so what?
and then who's on the,
and
yeah,
Rika.
This is the attendees over here.
okay, that's.
Are any of them presenters, do you think? Or
No, not yet.
okay.
You want to put not committee. We have
Just in the waiting room, Charles and Richard are. Okay, great. Oh, good, thanks.
So I should promote them?
Yeah, we might as well let. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, well, welcome everyone to the April Community Board 2 Parks and Waterfront Committee meeting. On a dismal, rainy, not safe to travel day. So thanks for those who are able to make it even on Zoom, because I know a lot of people are caught in trains or they're caught trying to, get home to do it. We have 2 topics today, and I'll introduce those in a second. But before we do, it's a small group. Why don't we go around and we can let everyone introduce themselves just for your benefit. Okay, my name is Rich Cacapolo. I'm the chair of the committee.
I'm Susanna Aaron. I'm the vice chair of the committee.
All right.
And I also serve on the Human Services Committee, which I chair.
Okay, and then let's go up in the way we see you on the Brady Bunch gathering here. Shirley,
Yeah, Shirley Secunda,
Right.
member of the committee, also chair of traffic and transportation.
okay, and then working down, let's say hi to Ann.
Hi, Ann Hager, member of the committee and vice chair of schools and education.
Working over to the middle, which was it was in the middle.
I don't know.
All right, Frederica, you're in the middle square. Paul Lynn used to.
Hollywood.
Yes,
A different show. 8 Yeah.
Frederica is there. She's a board member, and then that's Chris down in the corner.
Hi.
Oh, there's Chris. Oh, yeah. Kristen's on. Yes, I and Chris Diggins are 2 more board members. And you guys can see this, right? You guys can see that. Lynn's on. I see.
Therese Flora.
Therese is there from Parks Department. Thanks for joining. Who else do we want to call out? And Nico said hi.
Hi, my name is Nico. I'm a president of CUNY Board 11, but I grad in the CUNY Board as well. You're too.
Oh, thank you for coming. Feel free to
Yeah.
stay there if you want. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So and then we've got a few other people in the attendees list. And I'll do my best to, and please, if you see anybody raise a hand or anything, I know we've got some of your colleagues have joined and we've tried to promote them as well. But all right, so we have 2 topics today. Thanks again for those who are able to attend. We're gonna have a presentation by the team from the National Parks. We're gonna talk about the soon to open visitor center at the Stonewall National Park around Sheridan Square.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a discussion with the group that supports Jefferson Market Garden. They're next. So, but let's turn it over to you. I've shared, as I said, most people have seen the video, which is very nice. And we're very excited. Most of the people, well, let's see, I'd say more than half the people on have been here through the process. They've been long serving members and so they're all happy and looking forward to this. And I saw in your notes how long, I think it's on the website. It says how long when President Obama approved this. Made me feel old. Yeah. All right, let me turn it over to you and please introduce yourselves.
Yes. I'll go quickly first. My name is Frank Guerrero. I'm the incoming executive director of Pride Live, the nonprofit that is running the Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center.
Diana Rodriguez, founder of Pride Live and the co-founder of the Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center. We have other members on the team, but we'll introduce them as we go forward. So I just wanted to say we're very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting us to share an update on the Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center, which is located at 51 Christopher Street. This journey began 6 years ago when we worked with the National Park Service on the campaign to bring about the Stonewall National Monument. At that designation ceremony, we had the idea to create a visitor center for the Stonewall National Monument. That was in June of 2016. So to be here 3 months away from the grand opening is really very special and humbling for all of us. To finally officially announce that we're going to be a part of this community, which is also very exciting. The Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center will be the very first LGBTQ visitor center within the National Park Service. Given our home will be at 51 Christopher, which, as you guys probably know, was the other half of the original Stonewall Bar, and hosting the grand opening for the visitor center on June 28th, which is also the 55th anniversary of the Stonewall Rebellion. Just that seriously does not get more historic or gayer than that. The visitor center will highlight some stories of Stonewall. There will be activations by our founding partners, including Google and JP Morgan Chase. We will also have a 1967 Row AMI jukebox. That is the same model jukebox that was in the Stonewall Night of the Rebellion. That will be playing vinyl records, which is going to be really cool. There's also an amazing partnership that we have with Parsons New School. When we started this, everyone at the meetings and calls happened to be my age, which I did not think was a good thing. So we reached out to Parsons. We asked them to be a part of this. The Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center is now part of the curriculum at Parsons. It's an elective. That class every spring semester will create an art or exhibit that will be showcased within the visitor center. So that's rotating every year. It's something different, and we leave it totally up to the students. All we do is give them the dimensions of the space. So that expression is their expression as young, either queer or allies of the community, which we're also very excited about. All of us, the four of us here today, realized that we could go on for hours. So we're going to try and keep this very concise and kind of give you top level updates. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Charlie Parente, who is not only our project manager, he's also has been the rep for Pride Live. He is an amazing ally. There would be no visitor center without Charlie, who has overseen every single inch of the space. So Charlie, I turn it over to you, my friend.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm having issues with the video, so as long as you can hear me. So great. So yeah, as Diana mentioned, so I am the client rep for Pride Live. I came on board a little over a year ago, just as the interior removals were being done within the space. At that time, I think previous to Diana taking this over, it was a nail salon, I believe.
Yes.
So all of those things, I'm sure you'll be glad to know, are now removed. We proceeded into construction, obviously in the fall. One of the first things that we had done was really kind of tackle the structural part of the first floor, which really was kind of a two-part. Number one, kind of upgrading the structure to be able to just handle the capacity that we're expecting in there, but as also to lower the floor elevation. So we'll have ADA access into the space. So previously, I don't know if you are familiar, but there was a step going in. So that is no longer. You'll be able to have a wheelchair access into the visitor center. So that work took place over the fall. Then the contractor proceeded into the main fit out, and basically it's a full gut renovation of the cellar and the first floor. The cellar level is we encountered a bit of issues down there with water infiltration, things like that, which we've at this point we've resolved. Hopefully that's still the case after today, but at this point it's been dry. Yeah, I mean, otherwise it's a full upgrade, mechanical, electrical, all lighting, plumbing, new fixtures, finishes. I can let Richard kind of get into the design, but right now we are gunning to completion here, so we're kind of at the tail end of the work, and we're going to be ready for the grand opening in June.
The date is June
28th?
28th. Yep.
Right, is it Saturday or Friday?
Friday.
Friday, June 23rd. Okay.
Richard, all you.
Oh, it's all me. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Very happy to be here and be a part of this. And make no mistake, there's a Herculean effort with this building, because it was in relatively bad shape. So they did a lot of work in this building to bring us to the state that it's in now. So you can see some of the found conditions here. In these photographs, it was a really bad shape, the whole upper structure, and we'll show later on the acoustic ceiling that went into that. But to get it to the place it is today was a great effort. Just jumping back to those shots there, I think that those are just showing the existing structure that was above on the right hand side, and then I believe this is a shot of the main wall that runs down where the archway was between the two buildings, which we'll get into next. But if we go to the next slide, so this is the floor plan, which is on the east side of the bar space, and so to the right is the main entry when you come in. So essentially that was the step up that Charlie had mentioned, where you see the little round portion there. We worked extensively with landmarks to sort of keep that little arch step, but actually resets it into the ground, so it would echo the space just to the west. When you come into that, you come into a vestibule that's flush, and in fact, the whole floor all the way through to the very back and into the bathrooms is now completely flush. There's a little bit of a gradation that you can feel between the vestibule and this shape. I'm not sure if I can actually mark up on the screen. Can you see my cursor?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah,
the sort of C shape that's in the middle of this space. There's a little bit of a gradation there, but as you come in, it's an open space from front to back all the way through. The vestibule we wanted to keep very transparent, so when you come in, you have full view and access to the space visually, and also for the staff themselves to be able to see who's coming and going. Security was always an issue in a space like this. And then when you come in, and I just want to talk about that C shape in the middle. That's actually where the bar was in the space previously, and so the floor is actually going to be a terrazzo floor all the way throughout. And what we did is we did an inlay to capture the memory of that bar in the floor, just as a kind of recognition of the historical past. And then on the upper portion of the screen, just past the vestibule, there's some art in the main sort of reception area there, where there'll be some retail. There's a little bar sink there, so a nice sort of activation space that's right at the front, where people can be greeted, and that's where the Rangers will be, and that's where retail will happen as well. And then on the page south, which is the west wall, that's going to be all activated with exhibitions. There'll be the jukebox that Dana mentioned in the middle, and so there'll be this incredible timeline and exhibit, very colorful, very informative, that will run the sort of length of that space. And then jumping to page north again, where it says Parsons Wall, it's upside down, but just beside the retail counter, that's where the Parsons Wall will be. So it actually has quite a bit of real estate. Pratt has a lot of real estate to be able to really put together some phenomenal exhibitions on a yearly basis. So we're very excited about that. It's got power all around, so they can do some really phenomenal things within that space. And then just to the left of that, page north, that takes you down to the cellar space. There's the door there. And what we tried to do, you see it in renderings later on, it's a small space, but we also wanted to have a lot of sort of lovely moments within the space. And so that actually has an archway that goes into that lower level And that's echoed on the other side where you see the bathroom door. Just on page south there are two bathrooms, one fully accessible and the other not. So just little moments like that. And you'll see it also in the rendering where we sort of take these sort of softer motifs throughout. But the space essentially wanted to really capture a lovely sort of open gallery all the way through. And then just really earmark these moments. And to the left of that door is the generations portion where they'll have their exhibit, which is very important. It'll also have this sort of arch motif, but it's really framing that very important installation there as well. And then to the left of that, the larger space is the event space. And that will be where, you know, we'll have multimedia, you'll have projections on the wall, you'll be able to have lots of sort of talks and conferences in that space. And we can cordon that off with a large sort of, it's almost like a theater curtain. And so it has acoustical properties. Acoustic properties throughout was definitely consideration from the very beginning, and a lot of the conversations with Diana. She wanted to be very respectful of the neighbors and also just, you know, sound transmission into our space. So we worked closely with acousticians to make sure that everything is very calibrated, both, you know, left and right, up and down. So throughout the ceiling, in fact, under those beams that were in that photograph, we are actually hanging an acoustical ceiling on a vibration isolator. So it deadens the sound all the way throughout the space, separating from above and below. But it also has properties to really sort of dampen the noise throughout. And then in the front, and you'll see it later in some photographs, there's a micro perforation tin ceiling that also captures and absorbs sound. But that drape will also help in that regard and also sort of separate the two spaces when there is an event in that space. And then you can see some niches just page north and page south. Those are for the donor shovels of the project. And
did you try to move forward on?
I was just checking what was next. Sorry, that was my mistake.
Oh, okay. I thought you had moved forward on the slides and you didn't mean to.
No, I'm not controlling the slides, so I'm just speaking to what's in front of me here. But I think we can probably cycle through the next slide, maybe. Yeah, so there you can see actually on the right, there are those arches we were talking about. So that's the image on the right. In the left side of that photograph, you can see those archways, and that's generations on the left and the door down to the cellar on the right. There it is again on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand image, you can see the donor niches in there.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be reflected on both the east wall and the west wall. And then this image here is that vestibule with some art niches just to the left of that. The ceiling in this, sorry, just jumping back there, that's that micro perforated tin ceiling.
Mhm.
And that tin ceiling was actually a copy of what we had found in the space. You know, there's a bit of a debate going on. When we did a lot of the demo, we found these fragments of the ceiling that were in the space, and it was really rusted, and you know, couldn't really date how old it was, but they're very, very sort of rusted ceiling. And what we did is we copied the exact pattern and then replicated it here, which you can see in this image. So it's the exact sort of copy of what we had found in there with the same motif, and then it has this sort of micro perforation to it. And then the image on the right, in fact, in that dome just above the reception, in that space, we sort of reinterpreted that ceiling, and it's a sort of scale shift of that. And so there's a little nice narrative there of the sort of past, present, and future. And that's the sort of placeholder above the main reception in the middle of the space that you can kind of see there in the little knife edge dome. And then the image on the left is just of the back space in the theater gallery event space. And you can see the niches on either side of the walls, and then, you know, possible projections onto the back space, you know, nice receptions and so forth.
Cool. And that's pretty much it. Again, we're opening June 28th. We're hoping to have a reception for the community sometime in June. We'll keep you posted on that. Have opportunities for volunteers. We're in the process of hiring staff to manage the space. And our general operating hours will be Tuesday to Sunday, 10 to 4. That's all we got.
And we urge you to check out, I know we had a trouble with the video.
I can do it quickly if we have.
Yeah, I think the video gives some context to it, if it's just a minute or.
Yeah, it's just about, it's a short video.
Talk a little bit about programming.
Yeah. Thank you. All we got.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, do you mind if we open up to
Please.
questions? Open up the questions. Well, thank you for letting it. I think the video really helps.
Yeah.
Question, just, is there any programming that you envision that you have set?
Yeah, so the good thing is for 6 years, we've only talked about funding for capital. Now we get to talk about funding for operations and staffing and programs, which is a nice change. Top of that, and most important probably, is our partnership with the National Park Service. So those wonderful rangers who have been staffing the Stonewall National Monument without a home for 6 years, we're their home. That's where they will come in to get ready for their shifts, to give tours. They can host meetings there. They can do talks there. So that's one of the things we are most proud of. We have come to know all of them. We're starting with Efrain. This is Efrain's official day 3 as our executive director. But one of the exhibits/programs that we are going to launch and are working on is augmented reality. I'm probably not the one who should be talking about that. I'm not a tech person, but one of our panels is very specific to the people who maybe have not always received the recognition for the role that they played in Stonewall and the fight for equality. So there's a Mothers of Star panel. It specifically focuses on trans, non-binary folks. That is going to be an augmented reality activation. So you can actually go in, you can scan this amazing QR code. We're doing it in partnership with a wonderful organization called Kinfolk. And you can scan it and you will be able to experience Marsha or Sylvia or some of the other folks. One of the other campaigns that we're working on, still in very early stages, is with Visit Philadelphia. So one of the things we want to encourage people to do is clearly to come visit us, to visit the city of Philadelphia. And then our main objective is to have people visit other cities and states throughout the country that people do not know have an LGBTQ history, where that LGBTQ history is not celebrated. And to encourage people to go visit those places as well. So those are the first 2 that we're working on, yeah.
She seems excited, a woman. Susanna, yes, please go.
Can you tell what Pride Live is? It's not a term I've heard before.
Yeah.
So you're not the National Park Service.
No, not at all.
Are you is it a concession of the National Park Service, or are you guys completely
Very good
independent? You
question.
guys got the space on your own? Like, what is that relationship?
So Pride Live is my organization, Susanna. I've been working in not-for-profit for 32 years. I started out at Jackie Robinson Foundation, and then I ran the Glad Media Awards, and then I ran events at the Clinton Foundation. And then 10, 11 years ago, we started a small organization called Pride Live. When I started Pride Live, if you had said, you will have a commercial lease, you will have been stressed for 6 years and all this wonderful stuff, I would have said, no, you're crazy. So it's my organization. Our partnership with the NPS is that we are providing this service to them for the parks, for the rangers. We in turn get to call ourselves an official visitor center, but this is privately run, it's privately funded, it's privately operated by Pride Live.
And what about, I'm very interested in the programming, because funny, 10 years ago, I did an exhibition in the stores of Christopher Street to tell the story of Stonewall through posters. And I worked with David Carter. Who's sadly now dead.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested in the program. And I know that when we were first looking at this site and evaluating its proposal to be a national monument, there was a lot of question about the history and who would be doing the history and who would be writing the history. So I'm interested, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I think that's really important because I think a lot of people, when we talk about the stories of Stonewall, I think there are a lot of variations of those stories. So one of the probably most amazing aspects of this entire process for us has been that we have been working with Mark Siegel. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Mark Siegel. Mark was famously there that night. He was the one who wrote on the street in chalk, Stonewall tomorrow night. Mark famously 2 years later crashed an NBC newscast. That caused Barbara Walters to come back on the show after. It was the first time someone said gay on television. Barbara Walters kind of had to calm everyone down. And she said, what that young man was trying to convey is that country does not care about gay people. So Mark has been our senior advisor. When Richard and Ephraim were talking about that west wall, Susanna, that's actually our content wall. So we have very select stories of Stonewall in a first person account from Mark. So
Just from him, he's the only.
Yeah, well, he's the one, but we've had collaborations with National Park Service. So we have information from them, National Parks Conservation Association, and National Park Foundation. So if it's there, it's been verified. It's from those three sources, also from Mark. The other part of that is the fact that the Rangers, sometimes people come in and they say, where are the Rangers? Like when they've had the door open, the construction guys, they say, can we get our passport stamped here? So I think one of the most significant things when we talk about programming is you will know to go there to find the Rangers. You will know to go there to get your passport stamped. And I think the stories of Stonewall and it's very, very important. I think also just as important, and that's very important to me, is that we are now a part of the Department of the Interior. This very, very gay space, this very, very significant space. Pride Live is founded by 2 queer women of color. So we are now a part of that family. And I think that's a very important story to tell. Like sometimes I think people think the NPS is a very specific thing. And we're here saying that they're not. It's very diverse. They've been very welcoming to us. And I think that's almost just as important to share is that the NPS and the parks are for everyone. And the fact that this is a Stonewall National Monument and a visitor center that you can take a subway to, it's in the middle of the city. That's different. That changes people's perspective about the NPS and it changes people's perspective about all of us.
Absolutely. And I have to say that as a lifelong villager, I've supported this project from the beginning. I've always wanted to see more of that story told. I know from working with David Carter, and that's just one person, but Stonewall is a little bit like the death of Kennedy, like where were you? Everyone thinks they were there. And what I used to hear a lot from David is that a lot of people who say they were there weren't there, but he did a lot of first-person interviews. So it's a history that many people want to own. And I just wonder if that is something, what are the safeguards against that? I'm very encouraged to hear you say that the National Park Service and stuff is involved.
I think that's a really good question. When I started this, Susanna, I definitely was like, who was there? And then I realized it's much broader than that. There are people who maybe could not be there for whatever reasons. Maybe they were caring for someone, maybe they had to work, maybe something else was going on, but they were there every other night, or they were supportive of the community. There was also people who were there that night who had not had an active role in the community or the fight for equality. So for us, if you were a part of the movement, it didn't matter if you were there that night. It mattered that you were part of the movement and that you were trying to make something happen. So for us, I don't care who says they were there. I mean, it's kind of like Woodstock.
Yeah.
As long as you were part of that voice, then we welcome everybody. I don't want to ever narrow it down to if you were there. I think that's kind of unfair.
And will the program, I'm sorry to keep up, will the program include the context before Stonewall?
Yes.
Not just the night
Yeah.
of, but the Madison
Yes,
Society and
so
all
very
the
good.
other.
So when we talk, there's one of the panels that is the legacy of Stonewall, and we talk about everything that happened before. So there is an edit that we have to make in our video. We do not consider Stonewall the birthplace of Pride. We consider it something that ignited the movement, but that does a disservice to everything that happened before Stonewall. So working with Mark, we have acknowledgements to Los Angeles, to San Francisco, to Medellin, to all those organizations.
Yeah.
And when we talk about, that's part of the partnership with Visit Philadelphia, is to give all these other cities their due, so they can become a part of the history. And we love that Stonewall is so important, but it also has to be broader than just Stonewall.
And well, I'll just ask one last thing. First of all, Richard, is Richard the architect?
Yes.
Okay, so clearly you guys have made a decision. You're not trying to replicate the look of the interior. Right, so that like none of the
No.
stuff was there, like the door that was slammed that they tried to ram open and none of that is there. So, okay, it's all.
No, that's correct. That's correct. But I mean, one thing we do want to point out, and it's shown in one of the slides, is on the west wall, which is part of that narrative that Anna's mentioning. We do keep the original passageway between the two spaces. If you go, no, it's another in one of the other
Some of those
images.
arches.
So yeah, from the one space to the next night of, that's the passageway that we've kept blank as a brick wall, and you can actually see it. So it's drywall left and right, but you can actually see the passageway. Yeah, right there.
I see.
So we've left the sort of the thing intact essentially. And then the other thing that I mentioned was just making reference to the previous bar that was there by delineating it with an inlay in the floor.
Great, thank you.
And the last thing, point to that, Susanna, during demolition, which is the best thing that people who are doing demolition love to hear, is please be careful. Because we did hope that they could uncover something, but unless we had archivists in there, we had historians in there, unless they could 1000% confirm that they ran tests on the wall, on the paint, and then we would not say that it was there. Neither. The only thing that we did uncover, to Richard's point, was the archway that connected. So that will be protected and it'll be on display. So
Too many people in there.
Legal shop, yeah.
yeah.
All right, well, let's see if any other board members have any questions. If not, we have questions from Frederica, can you speak?
Yeah, I'm very excited by what you've shown us. I think it's wonderful that you've been able to find space so close. I originally wanted to know who was the leaseholder, but I gather that it's Pride Live. And I'm just curious to know, and congratulations to you on that. How long is your lease for?
So it's for 10, we asked for 15. So we're in already year 2. So we have another 8 to go, but to Richard's point and Charlie's point about all the work that we put into it, which was extensive, we want to be there for forever. That's why we've invested so much space into everything, the flooring, mechanical, electric, plumbing, acoustics. We're probably the only, not the only, but someone who literally went in and said, I really don't want to disturb my neighbors. So we put a lot of money into the acoustics. But yeah, we went in asking for 20. They said no right off the bat. We asked for 15. They considered it. They said no, but I think everything we've done that they would continue to allow us to be in the space.
Cool.
Well, good luck, and I hope that the National Park Service will be an advocate for you.
They have been. Yeah, they've been great partners. Yeah.
That's great.
Very good.
That's 10. Okay, 10.
So there was never a question of buying the building.
We tried.
And you raised the money to
I did.
the build out. Wow.
Yes.
So you're contracted by NPS? Or you have a
We have
contract?
a partnership with
A
NPS.
partnership,
Yeah.
like an MOU kind of thing?
Yep.
Okay, hey, I see Andre. I didn't see any other committee members. I see everybody's joined. That's great. But I see Andre's on, and we haven't heard from Andre in a long time. let me see if I can, oh, Andre, do you want to ask a question or make a comment?
Oh yeah, I guess I would like to promote you as a panelist. I don't know.
No, we can hear you now. We can hear you. I think we lost. Is he there?
Might be on the panelist side now.
No, did he move? No, I think,
Oh, he might have logged out.
He's just muted.
There we go.
Yeah.
Kudos to Diana. She's done such a spectacular job on all this. I'm inspired. She's done a great job reaching out to the community. She's reached out to us and given us a tour of all the great things she's done. One thing that I thought was really useful when she met with us was explaining that this is not the LGBTQ museum that's uptown right now. That it is, well, Diana, you could probably explain it differently, you know, better than I can, you know, how it differs from the LGBTQ museum that tries to encapsulate the whole movement.
okay. I'm sorry, before you go, Andre, I should have introduced you, but I probably wouldn't have done it well. Could you, just for those who don't know you, could you please just remind everybody who you are? I think they'll know.
Yeah, I'm with the Christopher Park Alliance. We take care of the green stuff at Christopher Park, which is now the heart of Stonewall National Monument. That's the easiest way to say it. We do the plants and so forth. And I wanted to add in one other little touch. We're in the process of raising money to take care of the sidewalk that surrounds the park. The city doesn't really have money to take care of the bricks that are the tripping hazard. So we're raising money on May 6th at our garden party to take care of that and to buy tree guards for all the tree pits on Grove and on Christopher that are still there, so that we can really spruce up everything prior to the opening of the visitor center on June 28th. So all that is in process as we speak.
Thank you.
Dan, if you would explain how the vision for the visitor center is different than the vision for the LGBTQ museum.
Yeah, let's go to that. And then let me go back because we had some questions about.
Just give a shout out because to Gabe Stolman.
Go back to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the our visitor center clearly focuses on Stonewall, the history of the building, the partnership with the National Park Service, which again is very important for us. The American LGBTQ Museum, they've actually all been to the space. On the Upper West Side, they have a partnership with the New York Historical Society. Their programming and vision is broader about the entire community and the movement before Stonewall, after Stonewall, since. They have much bigger space than we do. They also have a much bigger budget than we do. But yes, I think it's important that people distinguish between the two spaces.
But Upper West Side, that's not cool.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be on Christmas.
Let's go back to the other point. And I was sort of a setup, Andre. We'd gotten a message from Mark, the manager of the district manager of the community board, talking about how the sidewalks were being done and the area was being spruced up, and how the donation had been made by Gabe.
Yeah, our local restaurateur, Gabe Stolman. My bias, he's a friend of ours, and my husband has invested in some of his restaurants. But he apparently has donated $10,000 for the repair of the sidewalk. And when I congratulated him on it, he goes, "Oh, I'm so glad you know about it," because there was no one at that meeting. So I just thought I'd like to have an opportunity to give him.
Rich?
Yep. I'm setting you up for your question. Yep.
Thank you. I know Andre from the High Line, I work together on the High Line. When he says that they take care of the park there, he really was the mastermind of renovating it, improving it, loving it, and he really set the stage for Stonewall to be able to become the beautiful thing that it has become.
Thank you.
But
we've had really great support from the community. I'll be reaching out. I'm meeting actually with Tony from the duplex, hoping to find more sponsors for the tree guards. But really great community support. I'll be sending invites to all of you for the May 6th garden party. We've got some wonderful silent auction items that'll be there. And really look forward to working with Diane and her crew. We'll be working hand in glove because, you know, we're the front lawn to her wonderful facility. So, it's just so exciting to see the whole thing coming together. And it's also great. We've been working with Zach Owens and the West Village Bid, and really finding out ways to incorporate all of this into what they're looking to do to activate 7th Avenue South, making it more, attractive to pedestrians and really make it more attractive to our constituents, the people who live in the neighborhood, as well as the visitors. So I think we're just, it's 1 + 1 is going to equal 3, equal 6 and so forth. So it's all good steps.
Good, well, thank you. And Frederick, did we have a question? Were there any design questions that hit out, or are you okay? Okay, she's okay. She trusts us.
I have a question. It's actually a request. You'll have a website, I'm sure. I think it would be useful in addition, I don't know what your plans are for your website, but a practice that we see with many other park associations that we really like are a clear understanding of your relationship with NPS. All your financial documentation that you can share, any transparency you can show about your bylaws, your governance, and all that kind of stuff. All of that just helps breed community confidence. So it's just a request. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. I don't see any more hands up there, so that's great. I appreciate you guys coming, and
Thank you for
look
having
forward
us.
to it.
Thanks very much.
June 28th, everyone, and
It's exciting.
yeah,
I'll be awake until then.
sounds really cool.
Oh,
Thank you guys for coming.
I'm gonna wait till after the 20. I'm gonna wait till after. I live across the street. I can
Thank you.
go take my time.
Attend, okay.
I won't be
Thank
here.
you, guys.
I won't go.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Relations, all this stuff. Thanks. We had a few more community board members join, and one actually here in person. Look at this.
Sorry for my tardiness.
Oh, no, we're glad you're here.
There are hats. I get hats.
Incredible. See if you can.
We'll leave them here so that you can have one from,
Hats.
this is a magnet, actually.
Right. We're right on time, so that's great. I had said that we would move to the second topic. You want to do the intro?
On the second topic, if you'd like me to.
Yep.
So Jefferson Market Garden is, who is here from Jefferson Market?
Well, let me
Garden?
hear. I saw Zach was here. Zach was on. I'll start promoting.
Oh, Matt, you want to?
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Good luck, Zach spoke to us last night.
There's Zach.
There's Zach. Yeah. Zach.
I also have Michelle Govea and Susan Sipos. I think.
Great. I see them there. I'll promote them now. Thank you guys for coming. Keep going.
Thank you for having us.
Do you want me to introduce the topic?
Please.
So Jefferson Market Garden, as we all know, the site of the former Women's Detention Center, a very beautiful spot on Jefferson Market, right by the library. It has a special allocation. It is not run as a public park. It is run by a group of volunteers, which is the JMG, Jefferson Market Garden. And we just wanted to check in with you guys and see about your operations, your governance, your blah, 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 your finances. And so thank you for being here. What?
Your plans, there's been some changes.
I don't even know about this.
Oh.
Any changes you have in leadership or governance? I'm not aware of any of it, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for having us. We hope to bring a little bit of sunshine on this gloomy, rainy day. We wouldn't be the garden if we didn't try. So, it's an exciting time because we just opened for our 49th season on Tuesday. And you know what? I didn't even introduce everyone. Here I am talking. Just so excited to share. But I just wanted to say I'm Zach Walker. I'm the current vice chair of the Jefferson Market Garden. I'm also here with Michelle Govea, who's also on our board, and Susan Sipos, who's the horticulturist. So like I was saying, we are open for our 49th season. As rainy as it is, people have been visiting. I think, to see the beautiful magnolias are up, the daffodils, which are certainly become my favorite flower because that just means warmer weather is coming. It's kind of a symbol of hope to me lately. And, those little tulips are just starting to show themselves. So that's very exciting. But, it also is kind of a difficult start to the season, honestly, because we did lose two of our long-standing core board members. So we lost George Paulos, and then very tragically, I'm sure all of you know, we lost Lori Kleiman right outside of our gates. She was hit by an Uber, very tragically. And, many of our board members, as well as our neighbors and visitors, witnessed that. So, it's like just being in the garden again, as we were prepping to open, and now that we're open. For me personally, and I'm sure Susan and Michelle can attest to this, like they have been a part of our board for so long that we feel their presence there, right? So when I see the bench that Lori loved so much, I can't help but see her there. And, I can picture George pulling a wagon full of hay for the Children's Fall Fest. And, so excited to hand out those pumpkins. And so walking around the space lately, I'm just reminded of them. But, we also feel blessed because we have that memory. The garden keeps those memories, and it's so many memories of 49 years of being in that space. So, we feel very blessed, and we feel blessed that our neighbors, as always, our neighbors in the community have just been so supportive of the garden and so supportive of Robin as she's going through this time. So that's kind of where we're at, but the Jefferson Market Board has really rallied to get open. We're there Tuesday to Sunday, 10 to 6. So that's kind of where we're at from Jefferson Market Garden.
Can you mentioned, refer to someone named Robin. Can you just tell us who that is?
Yeah, Robin Felsher has been on our board for a number of years. That's Lori Kleiman's wife.
Is she the new board chair, or is she just a new member of your board, or?
Yeah, so we have 11 board members currently. Elizabeth Butson is our board chair. She has been our board chair for a while. I'm the vice chair. Roberta Adelman is the secretary, and Larry Baker has taken the role of treasurer, which is what Lori Kleiman was previously. And then in total, we are 11 members.
Great.
Zach, for those who don't know, and then Susanna touched on it briefly, and thanks again for attending, and I'm sorry, the two losses. That was really the catalyst for reaching out when George passed away. And we, just for those who haven't been involved or haven't known about it, and maybe Therese, you can chip in too, there's a special relationship between the organization 501c3 and the Parks Department. Can you just explain that to everyone?
Yeah, so 50 years ago, we were given stewardship of the land by the city, which we have upheld in a very respectful and honorable way, we think. And we do have a long-standing relationship with the Parks Department with regards to management of the space and a very well-developed understanding of like who's responsible for what. And the thing that we love is that we know that if we ever need anything, we can reach out to Parks. They're always there to help us. At the end of the day, Parks knows us. They know how we manage the space, and they've trusted us to do that for the past 50 years.
Do you have a memorandum, an MOU with the parks? Like, what is the official, is there any official relationship between the two of you?
I mean, we were given stewardship of the land by the city, and we have an understanding with the parks that we take care of it. And if we need anything, they're there for us. So that's the understanding that we have with them.
No, you asked Therese to.
Well, I just want to know if the parks, if DPR provides
So
any.
we don't have an MOU, which is a memorandum of understanding. So any documents and stewardship status is something that I would have to explore because even I'm new to that concept of if you have an agreement and it's 50 years old, it's something that would be great to see and understand better.
Right.
Great. Well, we're happy to connect with you after this meeting and talk and meet you.
Yeah, there's, can you talk a little bit about the fundraising, because I know there are events there and the way the money flows.
Yep, of course. So our operating expenses are about 200,000, and our goal is to raise our operating expenses every year. Like many nonprofits, I would say the majority of nonprofits are trying to raise their operating expenses. So, you know, we try to raise the operating expenses for the following year so that we can start the year with 200,000, knowing that will cover us for the year. And then we work that year to raise for the following year. Our goal really is this year to raise 250,000 so that we can have an emergency fund, because, you know, everyone needs an emergency fund.
Okay.
And so, like, as far as fundraising goes, were you wanting to know like how we do that, or?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and how we can help and how volunteers can participate, and if people want to have an event there, all those sort of things. If
Yeah, great. So we, you know, we fundraise in various ways. We're a voluntary board. So we all work together to raise the money that we need to operate every year. And so we do that with our appeal letter, which we're very lucky that our neighbors and our community continue to support in that way. We also have started something, I'm sure you heard about it, but you know, with the cuts at the library and our own, you know, we didn't have any kind of a benefit. We didn't have any kind of fundraiser. And so we decided, you know, with the library's budget cuts and our needs to fundraise, we said, why don't we partner together? We have a very long-standing partnership and friendship with them. We've done so many things with them over the years. Why don't we do a joint benefit together and raise money together to support, you know, our spaces? We do share a name in Jefferson Market. So we did our first ever event, which we called Blooms and Books last year. It was a great start for us. We're very excited about how much support we got from our neighbors. I know I'm going to say neighbors and community all night long, but I'm very serious when I say, like, they really support us, right? Because it is a respite. It is this peaceful space that people can come to and escape the hustle and bustle of New York and really enjoy. They can sit on the bench and read a book or take a walk with their kids, you know, see the turtle, enjoy the rose garden. Like, so, you know, people support in that way. And then, you know, of course, we have people that visit, they give donations. We certainly don't solicit donations, but people are always happy to support in that way. And then, you know, we have grants that Susan works on every year to get us grant funding.
And they have events, yeah, and you'll have events in the garden as well, right? You have weddings and things like that, correct?
Yeah, we have weddings. Yep.
Can you share with us a little bit about how many events you will have in the year that are fundraising events?
Yeah, so we don't, I mean, I guess you could consider the weddings to be fundraisers because the money that we raise from those goes to our operating expenses, but we try to do about, right, we try to do about 10 weddings if we can, but we really limit it because the garden is very fragile, right? Like, it's a beautifully maintained green space, and so we don't want to disrupt that. So we have to limit the impact on the garden always. So anytime we're thinking about even just doing blooms and books, right, we're like, can the garden handle it? Can the grass, you know, take it? So, you know, we try to do 10 weddings if we can after hours, as to not disrupt the visiting hours. And then, you know, we have our Blooms and Books event. And then we do community events, right? We're always looking to give back because the community gives so much to us. So we have our jazz concerts we do on the lawn. We've started doing fun things like Dog Day, where people can bring their dogs and take pictures. You know, the dogs love the treats. So if you have any pooches, I'm sure they know exactly how to get to Jefferson Market Garden. And then we have the Children's Harvest Fest, where we partner with Cinderella to give out pumpkins. We, of course, have visiting school groups and senior centers, and I'm sure I'm missing something. But, you know, we really try to limit the amount of events we do in the garden and make sure that they fit with our mission statement and fit with what we're trying to do, which is preserve a beautiful, safe, respite, green space in the heart of New York City.
Who's got her hand?
Yeah. Was it still a women's prison when you were a kid?
What?
It was nowhere.
Oh, yeah, it was a women's prison when I was until 1972.
I was trying to make a joke.
I'm not that young.
Yeah, Shirley, Shirley.
I have a couple of questions. It's just I'm a little confused. My impression is this is city property, but it's actually within the domain of the Department of Parks. Is that correct? Did you hear my question?
Yeah,
sorry, I'm just.
Yeah, is it Therese or is it to?
My impression is that this is city property. Is that correct? Is this
Yes.
within the domain of the Department of Parks?
That's
and
right.
My other question, okay, so that's clarified. And the other question is hours? Did you mention hours?
Oh, no.
Yeah, so we follow Green Thumb. So we're open April to October. We do Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 6.
Okay, thank you.
April till when? April to
October.
October, okay.
To October.
Thank you.
And we post those hours in a little box we have right outside the gate. And you know, if there's any changes for like, you know, if the whole city gets covered in a cloud of red dust again, we now have the magic of Instagram. So we could say, you know what, it's probably not safe to come. So if we were to ever have any changes like that, we're trying to communicate as much as possible because we know how frustrating it can be if you want to come and be in the garden and, you know.
Okay, thanks. Anything else? Any other questions? Shirley, I can come back to you, or I see Frederica, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I'm very sorry that you had this unexpected change in your leadership. I wondered, how many visitors do you have in the course of a year? And I've also noticed that you have been advertising, and I wonder what the response to your ad has been, and how many greeters you have paid versus volunteer.
Yeah, I'll let Michelle take that because I feel like all I've done is talk so far. So I'm going to share the fun.
So as you guys probably know, coming to the garden, we have people who sit at the front gate. We've had a very loyal group of volunteers basically since the beginning of when the garden first started. And our volunteers, who we call gate greeters, they would do a 2-hour shift, tended to be retired so they could be there at 12 o'clock during the day. And as we've moved forward in recent years, a lot of people have gotten older. They can't necessarily sit during certain weather. And so to make sure that we could stay with our posted hours, we decided to create some garden attendant positions, which are paid positions. And so when you come to the front, there's an attendant, couple of attendants, and a greeter. So we kind of mix them up. The greeters, if it's raining and they don't want to show up, they don't have to show up, but the attendants do. And so it guarantees that we have someone there. Right now, I think we have about 20 gate greeters who are the volunteers, and I believe about a dozen attendants. The shifts are for 3 hours. Some people just have one shift a week. Others have a couple of shifts, and it's they're all people who live in the neighborhood, and it's really a way to let them help out, giving back to the community, and also gives them a little extra income. I think all of our attendants, I believe, are retired. And it's, you know, it's really great having, I think, a mix of retired people and people just came to the city, sitting at the front. I know my introduction to the garden was I used to be a gate greeter for years. And we would get all types of people coming in. And one of the things I loved was you'd get people who came in who would say, oh, I used to live in New York in the 60s. And they wanted to tell you stories about the house of detention and how they only paid $200 rent at the time. And one time we had a gentleman came in, and it turned out that one of the garden attendants, they had both gone to the same elementary school. So it became this big walk down memory lane for them. So in addition to having people there to kind of greet people and keep an eye on the garden, it's just a great way for people to connect. And especially people who may be visiting for the first time, they have that connection, having a New Yorker who they can talk to when they get to the garden.
Okay.
So could you answer my question about how many visitors per year? Because I assume if you have somebody sitting at the gate with a clicker, they can keep pretty good tabs on.
Yes, we do. Let me look on my, I think I had that in my notes.
I have it.
You have,
yeah. So we had about 2,600 to like 3,800 weekly. So I mean, I'm not great at math, but if you tabulate that, you'll.
But yeah, we have our attendants have a clicker to keep count of who's coming in.
And how is the response to your admin? I mean, at this point, if you're going to be open 8 hours a day, 7 days, 6 days a week, that's like 48 hours. And if it's a 3-hour shift, then that's how many shifts? Do you have enough people, or are you really going to become dependent on paid people?
We do have enough people as of this week. It was interesting because we had put an ad out and we didn't hear anything, and then all of a sudden we got a rush of people responded. And most of the people are only doing one shift. And, you know, it's a way for us. We could have gone the route of making a couple of, you know, full-time positions and having only a handful of people, but doing it like this and splitting it up and having more people, it just gives more opportunities for people in the neighborhood to participate and be in the garden.
Sorry for putting out. I had to correct Matt's math there.
Yeah.
We were doing the math too, Zach, and
about 96,000.
Yeah, he couldn't. He thought it was 52 weeks. He didn't take into account the April to.
Thank you for explaining, by the way, everybody, my error. You know.
So what was the result of that, Rich?
Well, it depends. If you're at 26 to 3,800, we're taking 3,000 a month times 30 weeks. It's about 90,000. You don't know how many of them are duplicates. No, I was apologizing for being rude. I think.
No.
I mean, we do have we do have our regulars who come in daily.
Yeah.
I think we're part of their routine. We're on, you know, whatever their daily routine is includes stopping at the garden. There's one man who comes every day with his home health aide and sits on a bench by the pond and reads. And when he leaves, he says thank you every day, and it's like clockwork. You know, he's coming in.
You should start doing that. Yeah, it's hard to dedupe that sort of thing, but 90,000 or deduplicate that, but it's good. And I think it's good to have a mixture of regular people and new visitors. I'm going to start getting over there, man. I'm going to start reading. Coral, you have
come visit us.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to thank you all for being such an amazing model. I've been a huge fan since I, lived at 1 Christopher over 25 years ago and would look out on the 8th floor to the garden every day and come over to volunteer as well. I've noticed that you've started using Instagram a lot more, and I'm so grateful for that because it makes it a lot easier to share the events. And I wanted to make the suggestion that I get your emails as well, and generally they're a great calendar list of upcoming events, but they're not easily shareable. So if you could possibly make a version that's shareable, or at least have each event have like a link to the Instagram that's then shareable. Try and do some of them on Green Below 14, but it's kind of overwhelming when you all have a ton and there's like they're done at different times and whatever. It just would help to get the word out. I know you all are already doing a great job on that, but it's just been really fantastic to be able to have a broader audience see what you're doing and hopefully learn from it.
Great.
So
We
it's,
appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we certainly like with our skills of email and social media and our combined forces, we're trying to hobble it together, but we could certainly be better and we appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, you have 1,700 followers. So that's a big deal. It's Jefferson Market Garden on Instagram. Yeah. Susanna?
I wanted to say a couple of things. I wanted to, first of all, express condolences for the loss in your organization. I'm sure that that's really hard. And it sounds like you guys have been able to reshape your institution so that you're able to continue with your mission. I also wanted, I've lived in the village all my life. The garden is a beautiful jewel, and I wanted to congratulate you also on working to have consistent hours when you're open to the public, because I know that that wasn't always the case. You guys manage this, it is a public space and you are a private organization, which is not, it's not a precedent. I mean, we have precedents of that before. I think that the category you're in is unusual. And I think, Therese, it would be great to understand what that relationship is better. But I would like to make a request. Your website has pretty much no information. And I think that what we have asked all of our conservancies to do is to follow best practices and share on their website their governance, their financials, their staffing, their hours, their, as much transparency as you can provide in terms of your governance, your bylaws, your financials, your taxes, whatever it is. At the moment, your website, I've never seen any of that on your website, and I get it, it's a job to do, but you're not just a small homespun organization overseeing a table's worth of land. You have a very big park at this point. And so I think it would be important to, for community confidence if you could just strengthen your website.
Yeah, what's it?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I was just going to say, Susanna, that's like from your lips to God's ears, I am working on updating the website along with some of our other board members. We want it to be better. We're working towards it. We have a whole plan. We have Google Docs where we're, putting in more information so we can upload it so that we can, make it better. We're always looking to be make the space better, make the information more available. So I appreciate that suggestion. I just want to make one clarification is that we are actually a garden for the community. We're not a park, right? So I just want to make sure that's clear.
No, I thank you for that. First of all, thank you for the efforts that are already underway. That's terrific. And I do know that you're a garden. This is actually something we have raised with Steve Simon and with parks many times over the years. We would love to see this become online as a real park so that you got more support from the Parks Department, and now you'll have more consistent open hours. But before, when you didn't, it would have been nice to have more staffing. So anyway, we understand that you're a garden. It's just a very strange little category, garden, for us. But thank you. I'm very happy that you're doing that.
Is there a website we cite as a good best practice?
Well, I think Washington Square Park Conservancy, Hudson River Park.
This Abington Square does a really good job.
Abington Square, probably Jackson Square.
Yeah, those just as examples, Zach. I think those are. I haven't checked out, but Abington's a good example. I think at least of some disclosure stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we're really it is a priority for us. But again, many of us are working professionals or a voluntary board, so we are chipping away at it. We want it to be better. It is our goal. So bear with us. And as soon as we have a fresh makeover, I'll be sure to share it with everyone so you can give us feedback too on what you would like to be on there.
Let me go to Therese. Frederica, I think she has a comment on this.
Yeah, so being 50 years ago, It's something that is a huge accomplishment to have a group be there that long and do such beautiful work. And I'm very sorry to hear about your losses, because it's always the key people who keep wonderful things going. So if there's anything we can do to help you to get more volunteers or to be more visible, as we get to know you better, and if we can support, just let me know. We do have our partnerships division that will be able to speak with you more, and I can get more clarification on the different types. We have community gardens and all these different other arrangements throughout parks. So if there's something that you've established a long time ago that you have a written document for, it helps us to continue forward, help bolster your efforts, and help to make things much more I guess, transparent, because we also have a website. We do Let's Green NYC. We post all of our community partners. We say how that the community can get a hold of them, and it makes you more part of the park system, which can be very helpful.
Frederick, could I hold
Thank you.
I'm sorry, one more second. Jeffrey, I think, has a really pertinent, as someone who's involved in a public space. Can I call on Jeffrey now?
Yes, you can.
Please Jeffrey to them in case they don't know who you are.
I'm a founding member of LaGuardia Corner Gardens, which is right across the street from the community board by the supermarket of Morton Williams. And we are only about 4 years younger than Jefferson Market. We were formed in 1980-81. And so we're coming up on, and we share also your grief, because our chair passed away last year, on the 17th of March, actually. And so we know what it's like to lose a leader and have to continue. When we managed to do that, we also follow Green Thumb rules about being open. In fact, we try to do a little more than that. We've been for some years now opening the gate and just letting people come in, even unattended, because we don't have the funding that might be required for having paid attendance to be there. But we do want the public to have the access and enjoy it. And we're smaller. Our physical space is smaller, and so is our ability to accommodate seating. We have a nice little patio area of concrete that we have benches on, so people do come in and sit and have their lunches and spend time. And I would encourage you, Rich, if you're going to go read a book, to pop across the street sometime.
He doesn't do that.
Do that. And our hours are going to begin very shortly. Also, April, I'm in fact going to be there this weekend.
I'm going to go read a book.
Restoring the water system, which is now, we are all volunteer. We do not have any employees. We have about 25 plots and households that volunteer, and we require them to perform some attendant duties, but for the rest of the time, we just try to keep it open, weather permitting. We also do this year round. We shovel the sidewalk for snow and dirt throughout the year. We have our periods of time broken up into 2-week periods and across several plots. So three plots at the same time will have the responsibility for a 2-week period. And thank God for the last few years, we've been very lucky about snowfall, because we're not getting younger, and that can prove to be a problem. I'm hoping that Therese, you're gonna maybe get something done about that fence project for me, so that I can make that connection to my north plot with the hose a little more easily next week.
Yeah, I haven't forgotten about the gate.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say again, we really do admire the Jefferson Market. It is run a little differently, though. We are plots, and our incentive for our volunteers is that they get to choose what they do on their plot, that gives them the incentive to participate. But I share your pain. It is difficult to find volunteers when we sometimes have what we call opportunities. A family will leave the neighborhood or whatever, and we'll want a new member, a new plot. We've got a policy of trying to try them out first as a partner for somewhere else. But the list that we've maintained for years fluctuates, and we have this coming up the next 2 months. We have what I call fair weather gardeners. People will come in May and they ask all kinds of questions, and they're very interested in gardening. And come October, when we tell them that there's snow duty and there's dues and there's a cleanup and there's a responsibility to attend a certain number of meetings suddenly then their interest wanes a little. But we have managed to find enough so that our garden has been able to endure since 1981. And I hope you all come and visit us this summer.
Thanks. Thank you, Jeffrey. I'm glad you guys have had a chance to meet, and I got to figure out a good book. If I'm gonna be there with having my picture taken to prove Susanna Roy, I want to have a good book. Yeah.
I was actually at the Jefferson Market Library talking to the woman who was run over just the day before she was run over. And so I was very sad to hear that. I hope her partner will recover. I know that's difficult.
People have their hands up, Frederica.
I think Frederica, you still have your hand up on purpose, right?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. So it's great to hear that you're using more social media. I'm sure that will be good for you. But I noticed that when you opened for the season, you had no public programming on your website. So I don't know what your calendar is for doing that, but we look forward to events that are open to the public. I also was curious, you don't have an MOU, and I don't really know what it means to be a garden and not a park. Is that some kind of legal status? And I don't know whether that's a question for you, Zach, or you, Therese.
Well, I think that depending on 50 years ago, what status we had for gardens back then, and depending on what their agreement has in it, that's something for our legal department to peruse and think about, and for us to look at. So it's community gardens have come a long way as well since then. So there are gardens, and there's different types depending on the type of property and our jurisdiction within them. So so yeah, we can look into it and have everything drawn out and understood.
But in Zach, in your mind, what's the difference between a garden and a park?
Well, we're not a community garden, we're a garden for the community. I couldn't tell you, I'm sure Susan could answer this better, but we're different from a park in that we are a viewing garden. Susan, as you might know, was a graphic designer. So the way that she thinks of the space and the way she maps it out in her mind with the volunteers and the team is art, I really think. You know, it's special. We're very unique in that way, and that it's designed, it's thought through. The plants are very unique and special. I think like some of the plants that Susan has brought in, you'll start to see pop up in the city. She's introduced that. She's creating habitats. Like, we're very proud to be wildlife certified. We're also looking to get Audubon certified. I spent some time with Susan recently just talking about the kind of work that she has done with the volunteers and the team to help towards climate change, you know, creating spaces for bugs and worms and birds and all kinds of wildlife to do our part.
But in terms of your responsibility to the public as a public space, do you see a difference between being a garden and a park?
I can jump in too. I think the big difference between a garden and a park is there's actually, I saw there's an article in the New York Times from 1975 announcing the development of Jefferson Market Garden. And the headline is English Viewing Garden to be created in the village. And it goes on to talk about, you know, the women's house coming down. Gardens tend to be a place that you can go to reflect and view the flowers and the plants and the trees, whereas parks are more places where you can, in my view, have a picnic, play touch football, run around on the lawn. There's a difference in how you approach the place of a park versus a garden. Now, you know, I don't have Webster's out to see the exact definition of what each is, but that's how I view it, is that, you know, it's like when you go to Central Park, right? You go to certain places to have a picnic on the grass, but you go to the conservatory garden to sit and look at, look at the flowers. You don't play football in there. It's that's how I see it, is the difference between the two.
Okay, so we'll rule out football.
Yes.
But it would be good if you and the Parks Department can get together and really figure out what the relationship is and what we can expect from the space.
Hold on,
There
Jeff.
can be a significant difference zoning wise, and that's important for everybody to understand. A park can be mapped in the city map as a park or parkland, and it cannot be alienated except by the state. Whereas a garden like LaGuardia Corner Gardens, which sits on Department of Transportation land, which so many of the little parks up and down 6th Avenue sit on, those are not actually parkland. They're not mapped as park, and they can be alienated by the city of New York if the city council should so decide to rezone the area or do something with the space. So the protections offered a park are vastly more serious than the protections offered just a garden. So that's all. Sorry.
No, thanks. Thanks, Jeffrey, for jumping in. And Pete's had his hand up, and Pete always has a good perspectives on these things. Pete, what do you have to say?
Thank you. Since Teresa is here, I just want to say hi. And we had spoken a while back about the sad state of the trees in Petrosino, and I'm very glad to see that you guys replaced those with new trees. There are, in the northern point of the fenced-in area, the rat holes, and the rats there are monsters. And I fear that they're going to eat the roots of the new trees. And a lot of this is, as a lot of people know, is due to the influx of the outdoor dining surrounding Petrosino and all the food garbage that ends up in the park. And that kind of goes back to the mismanagement of the open street of that stretch of Lafayette Street. And perhaps that will be addressed next week at Traffic and Transportation with Shirley, when that's on the list of open street. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, Teresa, and anything you guys can do to plug up those rat holes, that would be great. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, we're really missing our volunteers at that park, and I'm missing them especially because I would hear from, and I just heard from Georgette the other day, and I was excited because having eyes on that park is what makes it possible to exterminate it very often. We can go over there and inspect it, but we really need to exterminate often there and take care of the garbage in the neighborhood, like you said. And I'm really glad that you are aware of that and bringing that up at transportation, because I think that's, like you said, that's the biggest cause of the rats that are also desiccating the root zones of the trees there. So, but it's also over the subway.
Really good trade-off for the folks who claim they're managing open streets for their own benefit.
And that park has very shallow soil. And so it's very hard to establish trees for longer than 10 to 15 years like those hawthorn were, and has very shallow soil, only 4 feet deep on that side of the park where we lost all, I think, 10 trees there. So we've brought back a few.
We know that.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, we sort of let's go back and that's good on the trees. Susan, you didn't get a chance to speak. I think you were introduced as the horticulturist. I wanted to just make sure you had a chance to speak. And I thought it was a good segue from trees. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I think Jeffrey kind of answered the question, is that, gardens are passive spaces. They're places that you sit back and you view. Parks are active places. And that to me is the main difference. And we approach everything at Jefferson as a place where the public can interact with the beauty of that space. And that's kind of the mandate, how I move forward anyway. That we want people to come in and exhale. We want them to stop and pause. We want them to sit down and reflect We want them to turn to their neighbor at the bench and have a conversation. We want the volume to be turned down, and we want people to hear the sounds. You know, when the kids come in, I conduct classes on Monday mornings, and when they come in, after they calm down, one of the first things I say to them is, let's be quiet, close your eyes, and listen. And it becomes another dimension to a green space. And I think that's the piece that gets lost sometimes in the city. And by having that space at Jefferson for people to collect, to reflect, and to exhale is what makes it unique, and what makes it a garden in my mind.
I know what you mean. I have to do that sometimes with these meetings, not so much tonight. They're really more confrontational. No, thank you, the guys, for attending, but let's try to get, let's try to work with Parks and to get clarification on this so that any questions about it are clarified and any concerns are resolved. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Susanna has one more.
You mentioned earlier that the events that you have, you do them after hours so that they don't intervene with visitor hours. But if you're open 10 to 6 Tuesday through Sunday from April to October, I mean, I have to imagine that anyone who is renting the space for a wedding wants it before 6 p.m. Do you have days when you do curtail the hours in favor of a private event?
You can Gary.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. Yeah, so we try our best, Susanna. You're exactly right. That is what we try to do. And when people ask for a wedding, we say these are the times that are available. Now, where we potentially could close a little bit early is just so that we can get the visitors out in time for a 6 p.m. start, right? And luckily in the wedding season, the sun sets later. So, we do our best, but you know what? There's always a bride or groomzilla who wants to try to push earlier. And we make every effort to not do that, right? So we encourage people to get married on a Monday. We encourage people to get married in the morning before opening hours and at 6 o'clock and later.
That's great. Also, can you tell me how much does it cost to rent out the garden? How much does it cost to rent the garden for an event?
Yeah, so we don't rent the garden for events. We do weddings and we have considered some memorials, but we don't just do like event rentals for like a birthday party, right? We're not a birthday party space, not a retirement party space. So it's been $2,500 an hour for many years, and that is all right.
Okay.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Susanna's looking to renew her vows for the she's
come on over. Yes, it's a beautiful space. I'm actually getting married there in August. So
congratulations.
30 years. That's not 32, but okay. Yeah, go ahead. Therese, please.
So it's right now, if you look on our parks jurisdiction map as DPR, it's listed as a park, but it's also under green thumb. So it's got that kind of leeway. So I do, if you do have any documents, it'd be great to just see it so that we can clarify.
Yeah. And you mentioned that.
We will certainly connect.
Thanks. And you mentioned the hours follow the green thumb. I was going to look up what that was. So thanks for clarifying that. Okay, it's 8 o'clock. If we would move into business session now, everyone's welcome to stay involved. But those who will want to leave are welcome to leave. We just want to go back through the meeting and just see if we have anything to follow up on. So
business session, you can stay, but we only hear comments.
That's right.
Members of our committee.
But thanks for everyone who joined tonight and rushed home and fought the trains to get home to be able to connect. So we really do appreciate it, and congratulations on the 49th season. And thanks again for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We hope we'll see you in the garden.
Yeah, I gotta spread my book reading time. Yeah, see you guys.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
For a minute, let's see who's still on. Great. Let me just see who's on. The attendees are still there. Okay, good. Okay. All right, well, thank you, guys. Those are two good meetings. I mean, let's go with the first one first, which was the Stonewall, the visitor center. There were a couple things about the meeting that I really wanted to get out, and I think we did. I would have started with the video because I think the video kind of gives the overview of it and how it's going to be used. But the key thing there was to realize that, and thanks for bringing this out, that it's associated with and it's a partnership with the National Park Service, but Pride Live is their own organization, and I think we got that cleared. I think we got the understanding of how that's working, and so that's good. Anybody have any questions about that? No resolution. They didn't need one. They weren't asking one. I do think, I don't think they're gonna need a lot of publicity or anything like that, and they didn't need any help, getting any support from elected officials, or had no issues with National Park Service. They just, they actually approached us. No,
We approached them.
is that right?
Yeah,
Through who? Me or you? Don't forget.
me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, we just, so what did you want to bring more publicity to it, or?
No, I just wanted to know what they were doing. It's a big deal. I mean, it's the first, LGBT national monument in the country, and it's been sitting there as a park for a while. Now they're going to have a visitor center, and I'm interested in the history of Stonewall, and I wanted to know how they were going to present it. So I
Okay,
think it's great.
okay. So so I hope everyone enjoyed that and got to meet them. I think it seems like a good group, and Diana seems like a pretty powerful force. And how great was it that Andre jumped in? We don't thank that guy enough, and so I'm glad that he jumped in and we were able to tie him into this. I haven't been to his event in years, so. And then the second one was the first.
Wait. So Rob,
Yeah.
before you go, one thing I thought about actually when we were going through the Jefferson Market Garden is maybe we should ask the Stonewall Visitor Center for a list of what items they're going to keep track of from the onset, because it would be helpful to obviously have, like, repeat visitors, new visitors, all those types of things.
Yeah, I'm confident they're gonna do that, but that's a good question.
Well, just asking what it is. Yeah, taking a look at what the list is. So maybe we even help them think of some.
Yeah.
They probably won't be able to distinguish new visitors from.
The deduping thing, yeah.
Well, if you buy a ticket, if you is it going to be at all like you swap anything, or you like have a picture or something where you have like an ID or a QR code?
It's gonna be free. I mean, it's national
Yeah.
parks. We didn't ask, but I gotta
But
figure.
they said the stamp. If people want the stamp, then you could show QR.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and I think the stamps are actually electronic now, so that would be a QR.
Oh, okay. Susanna's gonna go every day and read a book, she told me.
Well, then you'll be a repeat visitor. But
Yeah, so
it would be nice to know out of town, locals, all that stuff, because I think it's so easy now.
Yeah, well,
And if people are just
Yeah.
swiping their code, might as well tabulate it at the beginning rather than trying to redo it.
No, when I write back to thank them for attending, I'll ask them, and I'll just say it came up as a question and we were curious, and and see if they need any help in thinking about that.
Yep.
They're gonna be fundraising forever, so I'm guessing a lot of that stuff about attendance is gonna be very helpful to their fundraising.
Yeah, that's actually what I was thinking. Because then they should go back out to all those people every year, like saying support your national parks.
Yeah.
They'll be well attended.
Yeah, it's especially that first weekend. Yeah, it's gonna be good. So it's I still get impressed by renderings when they do that computer rendering. I like the guy at the desk had a cool hat. It's funny how what they decided. Yeah, oh, it's good. I think it's good. All right, and then so the one on Elizabeth Street Garden. There are two reasons. Oh, I'm sorry, Jefferson. Sorry, there are two things that happened. One was the passing of the gentleman had led it for a long time. That was the reason we first reached out. And secondly, it was they were the first in the start of this periodic sort of going around to the 501c3s and checking in with them. Because I think as you suggested, it's good to sort of get an understanding of both the best practices and the needs that they're facing. And we haven't done that in a while. And I think they are facing some challenges. With and they're dealing with them in different ways, whether it's with homeless issues or with post-COVID. I don't think we've really discussed how these are being managed and maintained, and whether they're, getting support or need more money or whatever. So, I thought about it today. We're starting the participatory budgeting, and there are open space. I talked to Nicole. I think she maybe got on today, and this was, these are things we could put into participatory budgeting. In fact, I don't think there'll be some spaces there. I don't think I'm allowed to say, Nicole, but are you allowed to say? No. Okay, I can't say. I can't give that away. So, but that's something we should think about in future years if there are spaces that need support, that we can nominate them for participatory budget.
Yeah, and also in our budget requests and capital requests at the end of the year.
Yeah, that even more directly. But is there, so what were the thoughts on that? I had not met Zach before, and so I appreciated them coming and talking. Any thoughts?
You have hands raised.
Yeah. Coral, I see Coral's at the top. Yes, Coral, are you still up?
Sorry, that was from earlier.
Okay, yeah. Next on the list, you see it on the right? It's Frederica, yeah. Is that
Yeah,
what it-
thanks.
Yeah.
I sure wouldn't want to be suggesting them as part of participatory budgeting until we really understand what their status is. And this is I live around the corner. It was one of the first things that I volunteered for when I moved into the city. It is just to give a little background, it is almost half an acre. It's number 14 on the list of 32 of our spaces, our open spaces in CB2 in order of size. 0.4 acres is 17,000 square feet. It's the size of DeSalvio Park, just to give you some reference. And the development site at 388 Hudson for affordable housing is 13,600. So it's larger than that site. He said it was open from 10 to 6, Tuesday to Sunday. That's 8 hours a day. And he said it's open from April to October, which is 7 months. And if you deduct all the Mondays that they close during the 7 months, it's like open 50% of the time. In comparison, Abington Square Park, it's actual park, is open from 8 to 8. Jackson Square Park is open from 6 in the morning until 10 at night. So they're open like 3 or 4 times as much as this park. I feel that at this point, open space is so valuable, and we owe so much to our community to make our open space as available as possible, that I'm not sure that we can afford to have a fragile garden. And I do remember that 9 or 10 years ago, there was a movement called Parks Without Borders that the mayor dedicated $50 million to. He picked parks, or the agency picked parks that were really in need of help. But one of the things about this park that is a problem for me is the size and the height of the gate and the impenetrability of the actual park. If you want to take a breath, you cannot walk from 6th Avenue to Greenwich Avenue through this park. You can through Abingdon, you can through Jackson. There's multiple openings. There's one opening to this park. You have to detour to take advantage of it. And if you want to go there at 6:30, in the summer, it'll be closed. If you want to go there in the morning, Rich, and read a book,
Yes, thank you.
have a quiet moment, you might get there and it's going to be closed. So I feel at this point there's something, and I say this, I'm a gardener. I love gardens, but this place is just too precious and too exclusive. It's too privileged. I feel that at this point we need to democratize this space. It's just too much space to turn our back on. And I'm not talking about destroying it. I'm talking about the fact that in my mind, I want to see the fence come down, and I want to see more paths. And if you have more paths, you have more benches. And I feel that it's going to be enhanced by this. There's beautiful things going on in Abingdon, at Jackson, in Washington Square Park with all of its problems, there's beautiful plantings. And we would not be sacrificing that much if with the turnover in their leadership, we could somehow get them to commit to being less exclusive, more hardy, and more inclusive. And I would like just to see to do a resolution on this, that at least as an opening motion gets them to commit to clarifying their relationship with public land and with the Parks Department.
Well, if we did a resolution, then we'd want to vote on it, and I'm not certain that that as you've described it would pass. So let's get some thoughts on it. I personally would be very concerned about being involved in a move that would in some way lead to it being damaged. Whether it's reducing the gate so that people would get in at night, or or leaving it open. It's not like Abingdon. I think it's different. I think if we left it open and something happened in there or to it, that would be a shame. And I think we actually tend to move to want to close parks like Washington Square Park at night, and I'm
not advocating for it to be open at night. I'm advocating to be open 12 months a year and longer hours. And I'm not advocating the destruction of it. I'm advocating for the democratization of it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to prejudice we don't have a quorum in the room, so we would have to take it to the full board anyway. So
yeah, but we'd have
I'd like to hear from some of the other members of the committee.
Elizabeth's got her hand up. You're on mute, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, you need to unmute. Elizabeth, unmute yourself. There you go.
No, she's on.
Not yet, almost.
Shirley, you're also on mute.
Yes. Ask to unmute.
You want me to talk? Elizabeth, you have to unmute. You can't? Okay, in response to.
Yeah, there you are. She's on. Now, okay, go ahead.
Well, there you go. Go ahead. Elizabeth.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a lot of sympathy for a lot of what Frederica was saying, but if I understood correctly, Parks is now going to review whatever 50-year-old understandings there were, and maybe that would be a basis for rethinking, what the agreement should be and what expectations might be, rather than a blank.
Good point. That's a good point. We should get that clarification on that. Shirley?
Yeah. Did I understand that correctly?
You understood correctly, yeah. That's right.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to say, I think that would be a good next step to discuss some of the things that Frederica spoke about.
Okay.
And the other thing, is it true that Parks does not contribute at all to the budget of Jefferson Market Garden?
Well, if we're maintaining it, I guess that's in their budget, right? If we're actually maintaining water systems, or maybe the fence gets damaged, maybe we're helping with that. There's things that you don't see the cost of unless we're there doing it. So if things get fixed when we're not there, I can't really say what needs to be done to maintain it. So if they're doing a lot of the watering, planting, and maintaining of the garden, that's a maintenance concern and a budget that's pretty big if it's special plants like they have. So,
but I think the question was, is there anything that Parks is doing currently? Do you guys take out the trash? Is there any maintenance that you guys do?
I believe we pick up the trash, and I do believe we remove snow, and I do believe that we can take on painting fences, fixing benches, repairing water systems. I don't know if there's a water meter on there, and if they're actually on that water meter service. I would have to check into that, and it's there's a lot of different things.
Right.
And you don't currently staff it.
You're providing services, not cash money that they can spend as they wish. as I understand it.
Correct.
Well, yeah, but let's check on that too. I don't know, we don't have a clarification on exactly what's being supported there and what they're funding and what the parks is funding and what the relationship is in terms of support. Anyone else? You guys here in the room?
Shirley has.
Oh,
Only,
sorry.
I think I'm going to continue that same conversation because the first thing that did occur to me was if you do any kind of extension of hours, any kind of extra services, you need more money. And so maybe that's one thing that the group has to be approached about is how much more fundraising can they go into doing? So that's one thing. And I would say, in my own opinion, this is a very special amenity for the community, and it shouldn't be looked at as the usual park, which does not mean that the hours shouldn't be extended or certain kinds of amenities be integrated. I can see that there could be some well-placed seating, more seating, because it is kind of a place where you look at it, right? And you enjoy it by sitting and imbibing it. So I would not be against that. But I certainly would be against the, democratize in a way, Frederica, but I really don't agree with the concept that you're talking about. It is a different place. And it's good to have a place like that in the community. But yeah, more money is needed to make it more accessible and still for it to be overlooked. It does need tending to and being monitored. That's
Okay.
it.
Go ahead, Susanna, as I look online, but go ahead.
Well, I also think that it's beautiful the way it is. I respect Frederica. I respect the way you envision it. I don't personally envision it that way. I'm fine with the model that it has now. My biggest concern has been that it is a private group that has control of a very large piece of public space. I understand why. I think that it would be hugely helpful to have clarified what that specific relationship is. I agree with you, Therese, 50 years is a long time. And I'm not inclined to want a resolution tonight, but I would like to give them the opportunity to show that they are going to improve their website and make their operations and their governance and their finances more transparent and public. That I think really is an issue. So I'm happy to hear that they were open to that, and I don't think we need to pester them with I don't think we have to have a resolution tonight about that myself personally. I think they might deem it provocative, which it wouldn't be intended to be, but let's maybe just wait a few months and have them come back and see if their operations are more transparent.
While we gather the information from the park and the history. Okay.
Thank you.
That sounds good.
Yeah, who else? I won't let anybody else want to comment. Who else is, yeah, Kristen's got her hand up. Yeah, I can't see you on there. There she is. Yeah.
Here I am. Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to also say, I also appreciate what Federica is saying. I mean, we have so limited green space in the community. I mean, we are definitely underserved, and so I appreciate those comments. But at the same time, this model has worked for 50 years with Jefferson Market, and it's such a beautiful place, and it's a different style of place. It's great to have. Washington Square Park is my absolute favorite park, but you go there and it's pretty chaotic, and it's just a very different space that is always loud and crazy, and you can read a book there, but it feels different than when you go to Jefferson Market. And I feel like that Jefferson Market achieves that space where you can sit and think and just have quiet and peace. And so I don't think we should sort of mess with their model in a sense, but I think the points that clarification is helpful. Certainly transparency is is always a positive thing by having knowledge. It, always improves people's perception and trust. So I think all of those points are really, really good. And, in any way to extend the hours, I think that would be amazing. But, I just, want to agree with the point that we should, not, I wouldn't agree with the resolution that in any way said that they should be changing their model. Because I don't see money coming from parks to be able to support another green space.
Yeah, I know. I see. Yeah, I see your point. I see how you connect the support to the funding. Yeah. Let me call on Carter. He's had his hand up quietly, and as a board member, he's allowed to speak, even if he's not a committee member. Thank you. Carter?
Hey guys, sorry, I'm in a low bandwidth area, so I'm not on camera. The board has supported the park for 50 years, and we were very involved in supporting the community and shifting the property here from the Department of Corrections to the Department of Parks. And we've supported this group for 50 years. And I feel that this is a pretty big attack and surprise attack on the garden to raise a lot of these issues when we've had in our budget requests in the last few years, requests for additional funding so the park can stay open longer. We've talked about this recently, and I'm just surprised that people are challenging the model of the garden when it works successfully. I've been to the garden many times, as many other have. We've all been asked if we're interested in participating in the garden. They need help. They need volunteer help. Just as was mentioned, all the parks really rely on a pretty significant network of volunteers to operate. And here we have a functioning government. Lori and Robin are both super active members that come before Community Board 2, and Lori did before she passed away regularly. And so, I think this is a strange conversation to be having publicly without engaging with the garden beforehand and asking them for this information. It's a wonderful group. It's a wonderful organization. And I just surprised that we're suddenly on the table or motions to change things in an organization that's worked very successfully. And
I don't see it as an attack, Carter. I think I may have changed it into a debate. I'm not sure. I don't think anybody's trying to mean it as an attack and trying to avoid having the conversation. The real purpose was to reach out to them as they changed and to try to open up a conversation with what looks like new leadership there. And that's what we achieved today. That's what we hoped to achieve. I hope we did. And we also raised some questions that have been in place for a while, and we can get clarification on them. And you're right, we have asked for funding to try to increase the hours, but maybe if we have more information to craft our requests a little bit more effectively, or perhaps more specifically, we'll be able to resolve this.
Step one is asking for the response from the Parks Department on the request for those budgets, which nobody's done. If we want to help an organization, there's one in place that's functioning very well.
I can't. Yeah, no, and that's why you may not be able to see that Therese has stayed on and she joined tonight. And the goal was to have this conversation and have any follow-up points coming out of it, followed up on. So,
Rich, thank you for saying that. I feel exactly like you do. I was not attacking. And the only reason that I suggested a reso was to more formalize our request for some kind of clarification. If you all think that clarification can come without a reso, then I think that sounds great. But this was not an attack of any.
Yeah, no, I apologize. I think by turning it into a debate, I put people on opposite sides, and I apologize for doing it. But let's commit to getting follow up on that, and I know you will. You'll help me do that. Everybody, please help me do it. All right, it's a good topic, and it is, and I hope people go there and take a look and try to see what might be able to be done differently, both in terms of extending the hours and making it more sustainable, I guess, without being, I think the term used was fragile. I think that's a good term. So we can do that. I'll put that in the notes. I think it's fine to put that in the notes. Right.
Nicole has her hand up. by the
Oh, I'm
way.
sorry. Oh, yeah, Nicole. Yeah, there you go. I'm glad you're here. Yeah. She allowed it. Yeah.
Am I allowed to speak? I have something totally unrelated. I know I can't speak on the Jefferson
Yeah,
Market.
no, we'll stop on Jefferson Market and we'll use this opportunity of gathering here for you to speak. Nicole, please go for it.
Public anymore.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I am letting you know, Rich just mentioned it. I asked Eric if I could announce the PB projects for this year. He just now sent the send out button with the announcement. So I just thought I'd let you guys know if you're interested.
I just got that email.
Okay, yeah.
Go read it. Let me announce it.
Yeah, I'm not. Go ahead.
This is I've been working on this since September. Okay, here we go.
Sorry.
Okay, drum roll, please.
Yes.
Air conditioning for PS11 auditorium.
Okay.
So I'm going by categories. So this
Yeah.
is cool. Chairlift for PS212 professional performing arts high school. And that's for disabled people because the auditorium, they have no access. So that would be a fabulous thing. Hydroponics lab at PS111. Broadway pedestrian plaza, it would extend a pedestrian plaza by 1 block to reclaim walkable space and reduce congestion. Madison Square Park fence upgrades. Yes, we now have Madison Square Park by like this much after redistricting.
Okay.
And we have initial funding. Where's Therese? Initial funding. James J. Walker, park improvements. Woo woo. Very excited about that. Arthur W. Stickler, Triangle Green Space Enhancements. Also, Therese, over on Hudson between Bethune and Bank Street.
That's right. That's right. That's been
Chelsea Recreational Center Teen Multimedia Center. And those are our projects after starting with like hundreds for this cycle. And that's it. I'll be quiet now, Rich.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much. I know there's a few there that the people have asked for a while, so that's great.
Definitely. Thank you.
And while we have you both on, we haven't really, I don't think, discussed that there is a new Parks Commissioner. Can either or both of you opine on that or give some information on that? I think it's a good.
Therese can talk about it if she
Sorry.
wants. Therese?
Yeah, you're up.
I can't find the unmute button now.
Oh, she can't. She's still on the mic. Did I mute her?
Sorry, it's just that I couldn't find my screen because I had too many open. So it's Trisha Shimamura, and she's our new borough commissioner, and she's fabulous, and she just started this last week. So yeah, invite her and hear from her. She's I'm sure she'll be happy to hear about all these PB approvals. So.
And she came. I think it's noteworthy that she came from the
Dean's office. Yeah.
Which is, I think, kind of interesting.
From Dean's office.
The new.
I know that our office was very excited when we heard the announcement. She's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone was very good. So, okay, that's great. Well, thank you all. I think that was everything. Look for the notes, which, and by the way, if you,
Do we have new business?
Oh, go ahead. I'll give you a chance. Go ahead.
So in seeing that list of items, it has the playground at JJ Walker, but I mean, what's the point if we're throwing more money again? We haven't figured out what to do with Dapolito.
We're not in business session. It's not a public. We're not in a public meeting.
No, so I'm wondering about putting the Dapolito on as a new business item.
Yeah,
because we haven't had a discussion of what the plan is or what Parks is doing with that for now.
So we're geared up to make it a topic for the next committee meeting. Yeah, sorry, committee meeting.
Okay. I'm hopeful that although my son is 15 and my daughter's 10, that one of them will be able to have a community center that's functional in our area before they're adults.
Well, as you know, it ties into some other things that are happening. So yeah, we're working diligently to get it on the agenda in a way where we can actually have a real conversation that doesn't just talk about what ifs and maybes, all right?
Great.
Yeah, okay, thanks, everyone.
Motion to adjourn.
To adjourn, yes, thanks, and please be safe. Yeah. Oh, it is not sure here. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Second year graduate student or arts and cultural management programs.
And cultural management.
And
Got it.
I'm in a sort of a capstone project, my classmates, we are both kind of researching and trying to develop some around 14th Street because of the changes in life due to the busway and many vacant storefronts and we're trying to I think there can be opportunity. Excuse me?
Who's your client?
We don't have a client.
Oh, you just do it on your own.
Then see,
In capstone projects, you often have a client.
oh, really?
It's, you're not paying, but you have a client.
Oh, okay.
You have a, yeah,
We don't have a client.
you don't have a client.
There was just something,